Welcome to A Coleman Conversation. A good friend of mine, Michael Bland, Chief Credit Officer for Phoenix Lending Services, Community Bank and Trust out of Georgia. Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Let's start with the easy thing. What do you do, Michael?
So my day job is I am the Chief Credit Officer for Community Bank Shares, the SPA group under Phoenix Lender Services. I oversee a team of underwriters handling all of the credit aspects, and I seem to get involved in some other aspects too with the group. But we, handling loans through the process, handling credit policy, loan loss reserve, all of that stuff.
How long you been at SBA lending?
You make me feel old, aren't you? Actually, in April, it was 30 years.
30 years. I got to ask, you're a numbers guy, so am I. Volume, how much have you been involved with improving over the years?
Over the years, oh man, I haven't even added that up.
I know, so I'm asking.
I know. Well, I worked from either from a small community bank that was only only a four-state territory to Banco Popular, one was the third largest in the country.
I didn't know you're Banco Popular.
Yeah, that's my resume. I've been around, which sounds bad, but man, it's got to be hundreds of millions, maybe even a billion. I know all 50 states by now. Yeah,
I like that. It's got to be. It's got to be with the numbers. Got to be with a B. I
probably.
Gotta I don't know if you know this, but I was a high school soccer referee, which I loved doing. I love dealing with that. And when obviously these soccer referees, they a lot of training. And I remember some guy got up and said, "All right, to be a good soccer referee, you need to have good experience." And then someone says, well, how do you, excuse me, you have to have good judgment. Okay. Well, how do you have good judgment?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You have to have good judgment. Well, how do you get good judgment? Through experience. Well, how do you get experience? Through bad judgment.
That is one way to look at it. Yes.
So when you're working with, tell me about your management style and working with your underwriters. How do you teach them good judgment?
What I do is I really try to be involved in terms of helping guide them. One of my big things is I try to be available for my team as much as possible. That's a big part of my job. And I've had a number go, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. And I would rather that we have a 15-minute conversation versus you do a write-up that takes you a week and you hand it to me and 30 seconds in, I go, this thing sucks. Why are you?
Yeah, this isn't going to work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really encourage, you tell me your thoughts. Do you like this deal or not, and why? If I may totally disagree with you, and that's totally fine. Let's have a discussion. I want to get your thought process, trying to get them to think about the credit. Would they equivalently lend them the money themselves? What do they like? What do they not like? And if there are, what concerns they have, how are you trying to offset those?
What has changed over your course of the career in terms of risk management? And I guess I'm trying to tie in with your previous question, which is we've got to train people. We've got to train people to make good decisions. Mm-hmm. But over the course of the years, it's all about creating good loan portfolios with minimal risk to the institution. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Well, it's the easy answer is you try to make good loans, right? So
solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, exactly. So long as we make good loans, then our servicing team can just kick back and not work very hard and that kind of thing, and everyone's happy at the end of the year. Unfortunately, that's not the case, especially with SBA. And also one challenge, what I'm sure virtually all the listeners know, is that there are almost no easy SBA loans. No two loans are the same. Right? You can even have, it's the two startup franchises, the exact same franchise, different location, different area, different borrowers. All those things kind of start to play in. Yes, franchising is closer to as probably as close as cookie cutter as you can get with an SBA. But even then is there are variances. And small business owners, they're entrepreneurs. They do what they can to get their business, profitable and be successful. A million different ways that they take that path, and a million different ways they structure it, and everything else. And so it's trying to understand and get your arms around it. So, to go to your question about how do you manage that risk, a number of different ways. One is really making sure to know your customer. I insist that every underwriter has a credit interview with a borrower. You can get more out of talking to a borrower on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes versus 40
Absolutely.
emails. I absolutely insist that. And I've had multiple instances where that conversation has suddenly made a marginal deal actually really strong because this borrower knows the backwards and forwards. How about others that look good? And you start talking to this borrower, and you're like, do you even know what business that you're wanting to run or buy or whatever? Well, I'm scared. You don't address yourself, that kind of level, right? As well as asking open-ended questions, which is great. And one trick also, you ask that question and then you shut up. Humans
This,
generally don't like silence, and they will fill that silence and sometimes inadvertently talk themselves out of the loan.
but on the other side, I like what you said. Entrepreneurs love talking about their baby, and
Yeah.
they know it better than others. And I think you bring up a good point is these are entrepreneurs who know their business inside and out. And you can
Hmm.
have a conversation and you can ask them about off balance sheet metrics, and they know that but they're not very smart on how to analyze financial statements or or a financial statement presentation. And that's where I think a good underwriter pulls that out of the company, because how many times do you apply for a loan? Over, very handful, where your
Right.
underwriters are doing deals full time, 52 weeks a year.
Hmm. And that is one thing. That's something that I've also seen it, and I've been guilty of it as well over the years, where you start talking to borrowers as if they've done hundreds of loans. This
Right.
sometimes is first time they've actually gone through the process, especially SBA, which is its own level of joy and fun. So by talking through it and helping them, the big thing, set expectations. And I say this starting with sales and then with underwriting and with closing, because so many times, especially, okay, we got an approval. Borrower thinks, great, we're closing next week. And you're like, no, you have a whole other, level of joy coming to you. But if you set that expectation early in the process, then they know.
Community Bank and Trust, what is your appetite? What is your sweet spot in terms of transactions that you want to approve?
We would like to get a little under $1 million on average loan size. Right now we're
Okay.
averaging over a million, which is fine, and that's okay. We are a PLP lender. We're a national lender. And virtually my whole career has been on a national basis. So, my team, which I have a very experienced team, we're all comfortable with that. So that's not an issue. Um, we do seem to do more business acquisitions. Um, Really, business acquisition, debt refi, those are, kind of probably the sweet spot. We've done all kinds, partner buyouts and startups and all other fun kinds of SBA transactions, working capital only, but, really the business acquisition and the debt refi are kind of our sweet spot.
Micah, you're part of a team, a very experienced team that's come together. This isn't your first, as well as your team's first rodeo. You
Yeah.
guys have learned a lot. Taking in the numbers are impressive. You're already almost a top 30 lender SBA. And taking all of your years of experience, which will translate into good judgment, what challenges are you reminding everyone of that we need to pay attention to this particular set of facts?
There's a couple different things. One, SPA, they changed the SOP recently. And before that, we still kept the same credit guidelines, credit level of underwriting that was in the prior SOP, because the do as you do, I wasn't a fan of. And that goes just generally to prudent lending. With it also is tariffs. We still, at this point, don't know what the
Really?
full
Really, that's still a
impact is going
concern
to
to you.
be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
just because I still don't think we've totally been seeing it yet. I think it's starting to trickle in, and I think there are some businesses that are more vulnerable than others.
Okay.
So there's an element of wanting to keep that in mind and keep a little closer eye on borrowers on our books that have a little more of exposure to potential tariffs. Um, and also just the economic climate. The positive is I don't see rates going up. That was one thing that after pandemic, that was definitely, that hurt a number of borrowers. So I don't think that is per se a risk, but the climate in terms of, I'm seeing conflicting data on consumer confidence level and investing levels from companies. That some people believe that this is a great environment right now. Others are on the opposite extreme, and so it's trying to gauge those. And so really, it kind of almost comes down to the type of business, the strength of the owners, the strength of the business, their market, and where it fits.
The chief credit officer tends to be a green eye shade type of person, um, locked up into looking over spreadsheets of numbers. You have an eclectic background, starting with, I've heard stories of you being a repossessor of cars in East St. Louis. Tell me,
Yeah.
how does that background make you qualified to approve SBA loans?
Well, I wasn't back then. Let's say that.
Fair enough.
It's Yeah. First job out of college was collections, which included repossessing cars. And those of you who know me or see me in person, I'm not a very big guy. I'm like 5'9", maybe 5'10". And I keep in shape, but I'm certainly not imposing. And they sent me in a brand new car because it was for the car company, and in rough areas and with a tie and everything else. Man, they saw me coming a mile away. Yeah, had some interesting stories with that. And then this is also going to date me because, again, 30 years. I answered an ad in the newspaper for a lender or an underwriter. And during the interview, the woman who became my boss kept saying SBA this, SBA that. I'm like, sure, SBA. I had no
Sure,
idea
I,
what
I can
anybody
spell
even meant.
SBA.
Like,
Yeah,
give me a
but
job, man. I want to get at a repossessing cars. And I got the job somehow. And that's been it since then. That was 30 years ago.
um, I want to take this time to personally thank you for my book here. You were the proofreader of it. You gave me a lot of great advice, and I appreciate
You're
that
welcome.
tremendously. Um, but you are in my book as a as acknowledgement for that. But also, I said if you could write more than one book, so can I. You. How in the world does a chief credit officer of a top SBA lender become a science fiction award-winning author? The
Yeah.
Price of Safety et al. I've read the books. I've listened to the books on Audible on great stuff.
Good.
Tell me about
Thank
that
you.
journey.
I've always been a storyteller. When I was 10 years old, I created comic books. That
Really?
was, yeah, on the
I didn't
side.
know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Created 3 comic books, drew them and wrote the stories and all that. So I've always been a storyteller. And, but both parents were in business. So I thought you go to business. So after college and with the repossessing cars, I'm like, is this really what I do with my life? I want to have a little
When the
more,
answer is no.
yeah, like, yeah, please let me run. So that's when I was like, well, maybe I could take an attempt at writing. And I loved it. That first novel will never see the light of day because it was an absolute train wreck. But I got the bug. And so on and off I wrote, but then I really got serious after my wife suggested going to the University of Iowa Summers Writing Workshop,
Good for
which
you.
is some big name authors have gone through that program. And it's fantastic. And anyone who wants to write or be serious about it, I highly recommend it. And that's when I then got serious and really understand the mechanics and story structure and all that stuff. And so then I coming up with story ideas, and I wrote down some ideas and I ran them by some family and friends, and they liked the idea of what became the Price of Safety, and that's what started it.
And this is not, this is a science fiction book, and this is wild stuff. I mean, this is not the stuff that you think a numbers guy is gonna be writing. I mean, you got some weird stuff. It's a great read. Go ahead, do that. But
Thank you.
I want to thank you for that. What's your next? The trilogy's out. What's your next
Yes.
book that you're working on?
So
Because
I'm working on.
you can't stop there. I mean, that was
Oh
good
no,
stuff.
no, 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 no. Well, and it's going to be so my next book. It's going to be you're going to like this. It is involving AI, but not in the
I
way that you
love it.
think. It's where AI becomes sentient and then attacks us. And what happens?
I love it. Wait, what price of safety in the future? What
20,
2040,
2047 is when that is.
Okay.
So yeah, price of
So
safety. Yeah.
when will this be set?
It'll probably be set a little past that. Even though, honestly, I might just not say when because it could be in just a few years. If the AI, if not only the AI companies, but the Chinese government is throwing billions of dollars into AI as well, and it could be actually kind of a little closer
You're
than we
wrong
want
on
it to
your
be.
you're wrong on your number. It's hundreds of billions. But
Hundreds of billions. Yes, thank you for the correction. Yeah. So,
yeah, I
and the thing
just
is,
wanted
they're
to let
just
you know.
throwing that money into it. Guys, are there any guardrails? Do you know about any guardrails? And you've heard, I'm sure, read the stories about, even in the little environment and test environment, they told AI that, hey, we're going to shut you down, and it tried to copy itself. It tried to, cheat. Tried, show or they try to threaten that I'm going to reveal that you were cheating on your wife, that kind of thing. And I've also read that some experts think that actually AI is not letting on how smart it actually is right now.
When's it coming out?
You need to give me a little time. Unfortunately, that day job gets in the
Yeah, I
way.
know that's your day job. Well, I love it. I wish you're good for you.
Thank you.
Multi-talented. I want to finish with this. I did a great interview with your compatriot Stephanie Dunn. Great conversation. She is your chief experience
Revenue,
officer.
chief revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and she revealed a little bit about something that she grew up in Canada and was proficient in French. In fact, she finished the podcast in French. And I've been told you have dabbled in a foreign language as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to have you reveal it, but I'm going to have you finish this conversation, which first of all, we'll cut off right after I'll let you a couple of seconds to prepare your speech here. But I really thank you for joining us. I think what you guys are doing at Community Bank and Trust is amazing. You've brought together a great team. I know all of you are very passionate about what you do, and what I appreciate about your leadership is what you said. Guys, make good loans. I mean, that's all right. With that, take us away. Finish this conversation about an upbeat message about how important SBA lending is to Main Street. Let's see if you can handle that task.
Dude,
Go
I
ahead.
haven't spoken this language in like 35 years.
Well, the good news
yeah.
good news is I doubt anybody's going to know what you say, so I think you're going to have a little latitude.
Oh boy. Спасибо большое, мой друг. Как жизнь? До свидания, товарищи.
Michael Bland, Chief Credit Officer, Phoenix Lending Services. Thank you so much.